Good morning, good afternoon, good evening on this February the 2nd. This is the HODLNOTS weekly warm-up, and I'm John.
I'm Vicky.
And let's get into some of the crypto headlines making news after the last few days, and boy, are there a few of them indeed today. Let's go. So, Bitcoin. Whoops. Bitcoin breaks key supports as the bears are starting to circle below $80,000. Now, Bitcoin for a little while held up around the 80,000, but after more than a 6% slide the previous day, with data from ETFs, derivatives, and on-chain metrics pointing to a move driven by leverage and thinning liquidity. Now, on the weekly chart, Bitcoin has lost the 21 exponential moving average, a level whose breakdown preceded earlier bear markets. Now, this is pivotal, and we are going to be looking at Bitcoin and exactly those metrics in a short while. But for now, so Bitcoin has also dropped out of the world's top 10 assets after heavy liquidations have driven its market cap even sharply lower. Now, Bitcoin's market capitalization is now sitting at around $1.57 trillion, which is still rather large. However, it is now only the 13th largest asset by this metric behind the Saudi Arabian company Aramco and Tesla stock. Now, the move came after its price dropped sharply from around 90,000 to 78,500 and well, it was more around 76,700 thereabouts, a loss of more than 11% of the last 7-day period. Now, Bitcoin falling out of the top 10 assets by market cap is significant because in recent years, it remained in the list as prices stayed elevated. Just on October 7th last year, when the prices hit a new all-time high, it was at 7th place. Now, earlier last year, it even made to the top 5, surpassing tech giants Google and Amazon. Now, for comparison, during October's record price, Bitcoin briefly traded above 126,000 and approached a $2.5 trillion valuation. So, out of the top 10 for the moment, we'll be back anytime soon. More on that in a short while.
Yeah, I get the feeling we've been here before somehow, but more on that later as well. Now the next story is about the SEC, which has been in the news a lot last year and the year before. So the SEC chair walks back timeline on sweeping crypto exemptions after Wall Street pushback. So the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and their chair, Paul Atkins, appeared to distance himself from earlier comments signaling a broad crypto innovation exemption in remarks made on Thursday. Atkins's changed stance comes just days after the SEC Crypto's task force met with Wall Street leaders who aired the concern around the planned regulatory carve-outs. The proposed exemption would see crypto firms offering specific types of products and services, such as DeFi and tokenized equities, guaranteed protection from enforcement actions by the SEC. But in December 2025, Atkins said he expected the exemption to be active before the end of January 2026, despite the lengthy government shutdown and delays in the passage of the crypto market structure legislation known as the Clarity Act. So part of the reason for Atkins's weak language at the moment around the crypto innovation exemptions looks like it is opposition from Wall Street, which fears such regulatory carve-outs could destabilize the broader US economy and benefit crypto at the expense of their own businesses. So obviously Wall Street against everyone else, and we'll see where that goes and how much the government can do for crypto against Wall Street.
Which is going to be an interesting thing. All right. Also, still with the US. Now, the US has sanctioned some blacklisted UK crypto exchanges over alleged Iran-linked activity. Now, the US Treasury has sanctioned two UK registered cryptocurrency exchanges, marking the first time entire digital asset platforms have been blacklisted under Iran-specific sanction authorities. Now, the Office of Foreign Assets Control announced on Friday that ZSEX and ZZion were designated for allegedly processing transactions linked to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, US officials said the exchanges facilitated nearly $1 billion in transactions tied to IRGC-linked counterparties, with a significant share reportedly flowing through Tether's USDT stablecoin on the Tron network. Now, Treasury disclosures stated that ZSEX alone processed more than $94 billion in total transactions since registering in August 2022. So we know that globally, a lot of countries are looking at regulatory frameworks, etc. But there are going to be potentially such exchanges where you're going to find either all sorts of illicit activities happening, and now the US is stepping up and making sure that these exchanges, especially in Europe, are on the same page and not going to be helping fund any sort of terrorism, alleged terrorism activities. Vicky, over to you.
Yeah, and that's a good thing because, a lot of we don't need any more people thinking crypto is a scam or used for that. So it's great that they're doing that. Now, everyone is seeing that Bitcoin went down, and everyone is like, ooh, but Michael Saylor, he was in the news last week. He's in the news all the time. He's hinting at buying more. So you gotta wonder why it's dipping, really, don't you? But anyway, so the strategy executive, Michael Saylor, just pointed to another Bitcoin purchase, adding more Bitcoin to its already large holdings, even though its share market price is making it harder for its own company to raise fresh capital. So the latest hint came on Sunday when Saylor posted more orange on X. So more orange is his like keyword or his like little kind of hint. His now familiar code that strategy has added to its Bitcoin stack, and that usually precedes a formal disclosure early in the week. And just when you think portfolio looks bleak, though, so I don't know how many people have looked at your portfolio today. I did, I should not have, but I went, oh my goodness. But just give a little wave to Michael Saylor's company. When Bitcoin fell below $75,000 on the 1st of February, he had unrealized losses of around $1 billion. So at least my portfolio looks a little better than $1 billion loss.
Perspective is always a good thing.
Yes.
That said, there are a few other stories we will not be getting around to today, but there was a very well-known company that sold up to $1 billion worth of Bitcoin over the last month of January. So not just short-term liquidations, but it's a company that's similar to Strategy, and I'm sure you guys know what we're talking about. But in the meantime, let's head over to some global payment solutions, and we're talking about Visa and MasterCard. Now, Visa and MasterCard are playing down stable coins for payments as consumer demand is falling short. Now, previously we have covered a story in the last couple of weeks around how not only Visa and MasterCard, but others as well are looking to utilize stable coins as payment solutions across their networks, which kind of makes sense. And we've spoken about Bolivia, Venezuela in the past as well. But apparently, consumer demand is falling short. Now, executives from Visa and MasterCard have said this week that stable coins basically have no demand apart from trading. We know that. Despite the payment giants' continued experimentation with blockchain settlement, both firms have laid out in their earnings calls that stablecoins have yet to show meaningful consumer demand for everyday payments, particularly in developed markets. Now, for his part, Visa CEO Ryan McInerney said US consumers already have easy ways to pay digitally through bank accounts, adding that Visa does not see strong product market fit for stablecoin payments in digitally developed markets. Now, similarly, MasterCard CEO Michael Maybach said stablecoins are another currency the firm can support within its network, but he said also that the dominant use case remains trading rather than in retail payments. Now, we will see going forward. I mean, we all do trade in stable coins, depending on which region in the world you are. Obviously, Tether being the most accessible for the moment. And I think, Vicky, going forward, we are going to still see. I mean, you have such an example where you have a crypto card. And I think Visa and MasterCard will be, yeah, kind of shooting themselves in the foot. I think that demand will increase, and it also depends on various countries and whether their own currencies are going to be stable for long. And I think that there is an opportunity, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I agree with that because I think that was very US based, that report. And I think other countries are very different to the US because they don't have the options that the US has. So I think that we will see the adoption in the other countries more stronger than the US at the moment. Now, this story is really not only did Bitcoin dive, lots of other things dove as well. So gold went down and silver went down. And CZ's Binance actually said the metals drop proves any asset is vulnerable to swings. So Bitcoin is still early. So, in the wake of a significant drop in gold and silver prices, Binance founder CZ has offered his insights on the future of Bitcoin. So, on Friday, gold and silver saw a drastic decrease in their prices, with gold plummeting by approximately 15% and silver by nearly 38%. So this resulted in a loss of around 15 trillion in combined market value. Though the unexpected drop, referred to as a black swan event, has ignited conversations within the crypto community, with many speculating on Bitcoin's long-term potential in comparison to these physical assets. So Caesar joined in the discussion, pointing out that such severe price fluctuations can happen even with a physical asset like gold or silver. So with thousands of years of history to back that up. So really, he's just saying that's what happens when you have an asset, a commodity. It goes up and down, and Bitcoin's no different. So we'll see. And he's probably true. It's probably right.
Absolutely. Thousands of years
Mm.
of history of trading, and you will find
Mhm.
these events happening. Although, manipulation, is that such a thing? Well, again, there are stories around JP Morgan and silver, but we're not going to get into that. Remember, trade what you see. All right. And also, one of the other things we say quite often is not your keys, not your crypto. And so let's head on over into the segment yet to be sponsored by any sort of corporate. But this is the security segment, and it leads on into a following story as well. Now, we've covered a number of stories over the last couple of months around phishing attacks, wrench attacks, and a few others. Now, crypto stolen in January hit $370 million, nearly quadrupling year on year. Now, the amount of crypto stolen in January has seen around 214% increase from the month before, with the majority of the value lost due to a single phishing incident. Now, the value of cryptocurrency stolen through exploits and scams has reached 370.3 million in the last month of Jan, the highest monthly figure in 11 months, and a nearly fourfold rise from January of last year. Now, crypto security company CertiK said on Saturday that of the 40 exploit and scam incidents over January, the majority of the total value stolen came from one victim that lost around $284 million due to a social engineering scam. You might remember this from last week or so. Now, security company PeckShield said on Sunday that the hack of Step Finance on Saturday was the largest for the month. We are going to get more into this in a short while, but we're also going to mention as well the next largest exploit for the month was a $26.4 million attack on the Truebit protocol on January 8th, when a flaw in a smart contract allowed an attacker to mint tokens at nearly no cost, which also crashed the price of Truebit, TRU, token back then. So, ladies and gents, just a reminder that, as we become more aware, more savvy, these kind of things still happen. So please never share your crypto keys. I'm talking about your wallets, any of that with anyone, including myself and Vicky. And also make sure, as per last week's story around the evil twin Wi-Fi's or the no Wi-Fi networks, please make sure that if you're using public Wi-Fi, to validate it or use a VPN as well or hotspot from your phone. Let's head into that next story, Vex.
Yeah, in reference to that Solana Step Finance hack, they have confirmed that they did have a $26 million hack recently. So, as if the market chaos wasn't enough, Step Finance, a decentralized finance dashboard, reported that several of its treasury and fee wallets had been compromised. The platform calls itself the front page of Solana. And on a post on X, the team said, earlier today, several of our treasury wallets were compromised by a sophisticated actor during APAC, which is Asia Pacific hours. Immediately, remediation steps have been taken, and we are working closely with top security professionals. We have notified the relevant authorities. So on-chain data indicates that roughly 261,000-ish Solana, worth about 26 million at its current price, were unstaked and moved during the breach. So Step Finance has yet to confirm the root cause of the compromise or whether the fund users were impacted beyond its treasury. But we all know that even, we've heard so many big people or big companies getting hacked as well, like this one. And Solana has taken a dive under $100 as well. Maybe because of that, maybe not, but just be careful. Everyone has to be careful with their crypto.
Absolutely. And that's it,
Mhm.
ladies and gents. We're getting into the next segment of our usual programming. And this is to
Yeah.
do with the fear and greed index. Now, again, just because there is a lot of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market, and there are all of these stories and all seems doom and gloom, there's always a little bit of a silver lining. So, Vicky, what potential silver lining would we perhaps glean from the current market situation?
Well, for those of you who watched middle of last year, actually, we did a happy hour hangout about the fear and greed index. And it was along the lines of if everyone is greedy, be fearful. And if everyone is fearful, be greedy. So the only good part about this is the fear and greed index today is actually at 14, which is very, very fearful. But market sentiment reaching a low could be one of the few potential rebound signs because it's because when everyone is fearful, a lot of people are going, "Ooh, that could be a great time to buy," which is the opposite what I just said. So the sentiment data is currently one of the few strong bullish signals available. Everything else is bow bow. So the silver lining is the extreme negativity on social media. The ratio of bearish to bullish comments is heavily skewed toward fear. So, in a nutshell, again, if everyone is greedy, be fearful, and if everyone is fearful, be greedy. So, this is possibly a bottom out and possibly time to buy. We are absolutely not saying buy the dip. We are not saying that. We see it and trade it. So, John's going to show us in a minute what the market looks like. But if it doesn't look like it's turning around, don't buy the dip just yet because it's not turning around. So that's not what we're saying. But historically, the fear and greed index is used for this. So possibly it could be a sign that it could be turned around. We don't know why the market went down. John hinted at a company that sold a lot of Bitcoin recently. That could have been it. It could have been the geopolitical tensions. It could be the US shutdown. It could be anything. We don't know. So we just see it and trade it. Please see it and trade it. We've been saying that for a long time. So let's just see what it is so we can trade it.
Absolutely. So that's it, ladies and gents. We did hint at the story right in the beginning as well. I'm going to touch on that shortly around Bitcoin. Now, for those of you who have the HODLNOTS 15 in 1 indicator, this is most of the components of that. So we did see that liquidation, some heavy liquidations on Saturday, breaking down. There was anticipation to be able to go back up again, but the trend currently still down if we look at the current market of things. However, if you guys start to read and understand certain indicators like this over here, the volume, starting to see a slight easing and a potential little bit of a turnaround. There is also speak as well of CME gaps as well, Chicago Mercantile Exchange gaps, that potentially could later this month visit in around 84, 90,000 there and thereabouts. But again, we trade what we see. Now, at the moment, you can see that Bitcoin has been in quite a bit of a decline ever since excuse me, back here, mid of October, and it's got quite a bit of work to do. But if we start to, you can zoom out, and by zooming out, I'm not going to scrunch up my chart and have a look at things. I'm going to first go and have a look here in terms of support levels. This is not a great sign. Let me just hide those resistance areas up there. We're starting to see a bit of a shift in trend. Right, this is the week chart, and things are not looking good with a bunch of these indicators at the moment. If this area is not held by the end of the week, I sense that we're going to be visiting around about 58. thereabouts. And speaking about that monthly 21 EMA moving average being compromised, this is what we're starting to see here. We had candle close or at least open. Um, for the moment, this is the February candle, and yeah, this is not great. If we don't hold this, we are going to be revisiting in and around that 58.62 area for supports, and that this might be a little bit of a journey, ladies and gents. But what has previously happened as well. When candles have broken down below back here in 2022, you guys might remember, still be traumatized from that crash is it took a couple of months, all right, but there was some good support in and around there, but this could be a little while. So if it does come down back down to around that's 58.62 range kind of thing, it's going to turn around over a couple of months, and we might only see a turnaround in June, July. But to that point, what we say all the time is you trade what you see, right? You wake up and you have a look at the markets and you're like, okay, Bitcoin's down, etc. But there are a bunch of coins that are already running beautifully. And from a scalp trader's perspective, it's perfectly fine. There's lots of great opportunities. And when it starts to turn around a little bit more, even we could start to even do some hodl fire trades, which let me just quickly pop it on there. Neon green. Apologies. I thought I had that still on. All right, let's bring it in. Well, when it will allow me. Oh, for the moment it's not, but that's, oh, there it is. Fantastic. And if you have a look at this, if you're looking to add to your position for Bitcoin, you're going to look for that buy tag that obviously follows that pivot bottom. So if in the next 2 days we start to see that pivot bottom print followed by a buy tag, you could potentially ladder in, but despite the fear and greed index being in the extreme fear side, and that's when you should be buying. At the moment, I'd be a little cautious on that. And this goes for any of the Ethereums and even Solana for that matter. I'd be a little cautious and maybe put in like 10% buy and wait for a little bit of confirmation. Honestly, I'd like to see Bitcoin back in support area, and I'd like to see it at around the 87, at least 91. And I think Vicky, I've been speaking about 91,000, 92,000 for the last couple of months in terms of good support area before we then tackle on the next psychological, which is about 100,000 or so. So for the moment, expecting a little bit of turbulence in the next couple of days as Bitcoin tries to find its feet. But quick grabs, scalp trading seems to be the way forward.
Scalp trading is the way forward, absolutely, especially in markets like this. And where we scalp trade is in the den and the lodge at HODLNOTS. So I'd like to go over the schedule because it is different this week. We have quite a few different calls. And the first call is actually coming up today at 11 a.m. UTC. It's the first of two. And because of the market, we thought we would just do a little bit of a refresher on scalp trading. A lot of people are venturing on different paths, and we just want to rein everyone back just to make sure everyone is happy with the way they're scalping and confident in the way they're scalping, because at the moment, scalp trading is the place to be. So at 11 a.m. UTC, we're going to have a special ask session in the lodge with additional scalping knowledge, and that will be the first of two. And it will be around an hour. And today we're going to be going over the fundamentals, basically, of really the golden rules. What is the front of the mountain? What is the golden zone? How do you identify it? Why is it important? So that's today at 11 a.m. UTC. And that will be followed directly after by the first of the self-paced calls. So that's for anyone that's doing the self-paced HODLNOTS foundational course, and that's chapter 1 to 3. So if you're on chapters 1 to 3 doing the self-paced call, please jump on and we can help you out there. And that then there is a slight change in schedule. So there is another self-paced call immediately following that one, not immediately, but a couple hours later at 10 p.m. UTC today. So that is anyone that is on any chapter can jump on that. It's a slightly different time than usual. And then that will be followed by a lodge call on Tuesday, which will also be about scalp trading, obviously. So we're going to be doing lots of scalp trading. We want everyone to scalp trade. If you don't know how to scalp trade, please learn how to scalp trade. So that will be at 6 a.m. UTC on Tuesday. And that will be followed on Tuesday at 11 a.m. UTC by the second of our two lodge ask sessions. And the second one will be all about the answer to every question in the entire universe, timeframes. So we're going to be breaking this section up into one on Monday, one on Tuesday. So please jump on if you can. And those are both at 11 a.m. UTC. And then that will be followed immediately after by the HODL Fire indicator call. So if you have the HODL Fire call, let's know. If you have the HODL Fire indicator, this is the call for you. It's at 12 p.m. UTC on Tuesday. We'll see how the market is. To be honest, HODL Fires possibly on the lower time frames. We'll have a little chat about that. But please jump on. That's 12 p.m. UTC if you have the HODL Fire indicator. And then on Wednesday, we also have the HODL dot call, which is at 8 p.m. UTC. So anyone that's doing the scalping challenge, which is actually where you should be at the moment, will have their first of the HODL dot call at 8 p.m. UTC. And that will be followed on Thursday by the second HODL dot call at 7 a.m. UTC. So those are the two calls on two different time zones. And then we have our final call of the week, which is the second of the self-paced call at 12 p.m. UTC. And that's for people that are doing chapters 4 onwards. So please jump on that one. And then we do have two more calls, and they're giant, giant calls, but that's actually the HODL Fire course. So we have a HODL Fire course going again this week. We had one last week, which was amazing. This week, we have another HODL Fire course, and that is on Wednesday and Friday, the 4th and the 6th of February. And that starts at 6 a.m. UTC. So anyone that's up from 6 a.m. UTC for about 5 or 6 hours each on Wednesday and Friday, we do still have spots available in that course, and you can learn the HODL Fire, how to HODL Fire, which will be good when the market starts running again. So it's actually a perfect time to learn when the market's like this, and we can do all the theory and then test it out when the market starts running again. And that's what's in the lodge this week, and a little bit
Absolutely.
more.
Yes, it's all over HODLNOTS. Plenty of calls for those in the lodge and those outside as well. Looking forward to seeing you all. But that said, just over here is the next in the images in the series of our contest. There might be another week, maybe 2 weeks, who knows, of this running. You'll just basically have to watch and take note of what these icons are, what stories they refer to be in the running to win. And we might see, depending on who the quickest fingers, we might have two prizes up for grabs. But first prize is going to be a one-on-one session with myself or Vicky around trading. Especially if you're in the HODLNOTS landscape, definitely worth it. And for those of you outside and you want to learn more, you can pick our brains and we'll definitely spend lots of time with you. I mean, those calls are worth hundreds of dollars per hour. So you definitely want to be in it to win it. Now, that said, what is the thought for the week as we go into this tumultuous week, Vicky?
Yeah, I actually I woke up this morning and it went golly gosh darn. And I really kind of wanted to do a slightly different quote today, but this is a family show. It's in the family time slot still. So I think I will go with now, those of you in the States, it is Groundhog Day today. And so those of you who don't know what is Groundhog Day, is a little groundhog comes up out of the hole that he's in his burrow, and if he sees his shadow, you possibly will have, I always get this wrong, more winter, and if he doesn't, you're going to have spring. But really, I wanted to say that, I mean, hopefully he does, and now I'm going to get this wrong, but hopefully he doesn't see his shadow, so we finally emerge into this crypto spring that we like. But really, no matter if he sees his shadow or not, spring will always appear at some stage. So I think we have to just kind of take that into the bigger picture, and spring will always appear no matter if he sees a shadow or not. So let's just hope that spring appears.
It will indeed. Hope you guys all find some pep in your step, a spring in your bounce, and we will catch you guys during this week on one of the many calls, especially for those in the lodge a little later. Vicky and I are looking forward to sharing some refresher points with all of you. Until then, and otherwise next week, watch your keys, don't share any passwords, be safe out there. All right. It's important. Until then, ciao, ciao.